it's been a great story, Avnish, and the idea behind bringing you on board was to share this very long journey that you have had at CaratLane. Started in 2008.
Actually, 2007. The
2007.
website went live in 2008. But
Wow.
yeah, it's 2008 for all.
Wow. Yeah. So no, it's been a very long journey, and we spoke about this. There are clearly four different phases in which the company has grown. We'll talk about that. But before we get to that, Avnish, how did it all start in the very first place? Why jewelry as a business and online jewelry, right? Back in 2007.
See, actually, so there are, I think, three reasons why it all happened. So Mithun, who started this, right? Mithun's family has been in jewelry for like 7 generations.
7 generations.
Yes, so he's been around jewelry all his life. His family runs three, as in at that point in time, one store, which is in Hughes Road in Bombay. So they had seen retail business also, and he had seen how inefficient that business model was. Lots of inventory and the traditional way of doing retail. Then he was in the US studying at GIA, which is a gemological institute of America, where he saw how digital businesses were transforming, the way businesses are done and how consumers interact with businesses in America. So he had seen, you had a sense of the jewelry business, and he understood that business. He saw how the business model was broken in India and how technology was changing it in America. So, it kind of all came together. And he had also seen how, everybody was focused only on serving the upper class in that sense, right? Only the high priced buyer. It's, like somewhere similar to airlines that, you only had business class customers, right? Everybody only wanted to sell. So you also saw that there was a gap in this price point, right? The sub 50K price point. And he had known other people who had tried to do this. Unfortunately, some of them were ahead of their time. You need a certain ecosystem to build an online business, right? Actually, 2007-8 was also very early. I can't tell you how much we struggled. So that was how it came about jewelry. And he saw that there was a clear niche, meaning a customer which was not served in terms of the price point, and a business model which was broken. Luckily, he got in touch with Gopal because nobody knew technology, right, in his family or otherwise. Gopal had been with Sifi and other star. Most of you would not know Sifi.
How many people remember Sifi? A lot of
That's a
people.
lot.
So we have an
Yeah.
old audience here.
We have an
Okay.
older audience, I guess. Yeah. So Sifi ke karan, he had experienced startups and he had experienced technology. So being with Gopal gave him the confidence that let's go and try and build this. But that was all we knew, as in there was no understanding of technology beyond that, or about all the other pieces needed to build a business. So I think that was how it all started back in the day. It actually, Gopal made a purchase in Mithun's family business. And then Mithun showed him, how much of a price advantage you could have if there was a different business model. And that's how he convinced him to join him.
Understood.
Yeah, because otherwise, it was crazy back in the day.
Absolutely,
To think
right?
that somebody could even think of starting a jewelry business, and that's also online.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember that in 2007-8, there was no Amazon in this country.
Yep.
There was no
Flipkart just started in
Yes,
2008,
yes, yes.
No, very interesting. So it traces back to the roots of the family being in the jewelry business, in the gemstone business for a very long time.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And see, the thing is, I think without that, you can't build a business,
can't.
right? If
You have to
don't
have
know
those
the
insights.
category really, really well.
I do agree. I do agree. Okay, so we all those who have tracked the startup journeys, I think we all have seen that phase of 2010, 11 to 2020, 14, 15, when CaratLane was pretty much the champion on the startup ecosystem, raised a lot of venture capital to the tune of about $60 million, etc. Right?
Which is nothing, actually.
Which
if
is
you
nothing.
Think about
I
it.
agree. I agree. But for that time and period, that was quite a lot of capital to raise and then grow the business in the manner that you guys did. Tell us about that phase. What was working? What were the key insights that you were fetching at that time?
See, like you said, right? I think that was phase 2 for CaratLane.
That's phase 2. Correct.
So after starting in 2008, I think till 2010 we were just figuring out a lot of the basic stuff. That was a time when you had to literally chase one customer every day to get an order. I think by 2010, we had reached like a 1 crore per month run rate.
1 crore GMV.
No, we never have GMV as a metric in this company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So was it 1 crore revenue?
Yes.
Brilliant. And you always had
GMV
this?
actually we never knew. मतलब वो बाद में समझ में आया कि ऐसा भी एक metric होता है which VCs use.
Interesting. So you stuck to revenue always
Yeah, yeah.
as your
You know,
key metric?
with all due respect, you know, Mithun is a Marwadi, right? And we learned the Marwadi ethos of business very early.
We have had overdose of Marwadi sessions in this
Yes.
engagement.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do a separate Marwadi track next time.
Yeah.
But good to hear.
So
Okay.
उस तरह से ना ये concept of like there was nothing else, right? Like there is a cost and there is a revenue and there is no other measure in that sense. So anyways, so 2010 when we were there, still figuring out a lot of stuff. And a lot of people don't know this, but we had also started a B2B business, which was a cash cow for us to generate money. And it
Mind
was,
telling us what it was?
so we had created a system to sell solitaires to jewelers. Yeah. And the reason to do that was one, obviously it was generating money for us. It was also, you know, giving us enough buying power to negotiate and build relationship with the manufacturers. Many of them would not even entertain you if you didn't buy a certain volume. So it was a twofold thing. So that was where we were. We had tried to raise money from some people. It had failed. And actually, you know, Tiger came out of the blue. There was a message on LinkedIn to Mithun from, I forget the name, you know, the
Leaf Excel?
Lee, yes.
Okay.
You know, and he thought it's a fake or a, you know, like a Kenyan message, right, which used to come. Ki somebody is telling you,
Lee
I want
being
to.
Lee,
Yeah.
he was a
So,
character.
anyways, that's how the funding happened. And I think that 4-5 year phase was the time where we really kind of, you know, again, using a very cliche term, but the product market fit in that sense. So we started try at home, we started stores.
Did you start doing stores by that time?
Yes. So we opened a store, and the first store was a disaster because we had copied the web room model of Blue Nile, where they don't have a lot of real jewelry. You're just supposed to come and experience the product, but there's no buying happen. Then you still place an online order. So we set up a store with a lot of screens कि आप digitally देखोगे, and it was a, you know, a big disaster. So, you know, those are, I think that the money which came in, that was the time where we made the maximum number of mistakes. You know, because we had to try everything to even learn what works, what doesn't work. So we're right from TV ads, you know, traditional models of ATL, BTL, a lot of work on the technology side as well, many things which didn't work. And, you know, we hired more senior people. So is period mein the revenue kind of went from this 1 crore to it reached almost 10 crores by 2015.
10 crores monthly.
Yeah. And out of that also there was a reasonable amount of B2B, which was very low margin, but it was also important for the reasons I mentioned earlier. So this, you know, this was an important period because, you know, we were doing a lot of things wrong. But I think everybody has to go through that journey to do all the things incorrectly, I think, before you figure out what works, what doesn't work. Luckily, we had money also to do that at that point in time.
Oh,
So
that's a great luxury to have.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, talking about these experiments, you know, we've spoken about how you guys are very, very, very heavy on your insights based on pin code led consumption or pin code led behaviors, right?
Yes.
Pin codes where most of your browsing is happening, most of your consumption is happening. Talk to us about that. It's a very interesting way, and that insights also leads into you deciding where to actually open a store.
Yeah, so actually, I'll tell you how it came about. We would, you know, once we would open stores, right? We would say, ki, you know, what was the impact of opening a store? And typically, the answer which retail people will tell you, ki, you know, it's doing 50 lakhs, so it's great, right? And the store is breaking.
All these are very common wisdoms, right? So in
Huh.
QSR, they'll tell
But,
you 10 lakh
you know,
rupees
then we
is great.
said that, you know, this store was in pin code, say 1, 2, and 3. That pin code was already giving us 20 lakhs of business without the store. Now we open a store, that 20 lakhs has gone down to 10 lakhs. We are doing 50 lakhs extra. So the net impact is only 40 lakhs. and it's cost us so much money. So was it really worth it, right? So that's how those conversations started. Then, we also made some mistakes. We opened a store with the traditional way of saying, kahan store kholna chahiye? And we figured that those proxies were not great. So, it is very classic money ball in some sense. You realized, whenever everybody uses the same method, right? There is only so much of it, and it becomes very expensive. So if you want to open a store in a jewelry market, everybody is fighting for it. You will not get great locations because you are nothing, and you'll have to pay a lot. So that was a problem which was sitting over there. And we were also, we had this conversion focus. कि इतना demand आ रहा है from this pin code, right? There are so many people who are browsing, but we are not able to convert. So the reason of opening stores and try at home was to improve conversion. So then we said, this problem of how to open stores and this problem of converting people where you had a lot of demand from a pin code, we need to marry these two. So therefore we said we should only open stores where we have great demand. So कि from day one there will be footfall.
And just to emphasize this a bit more, when you say great demand, this was based on
Browsing on the website, browsing on the apps,
you're
and not
deriving
just
from
browsing. Yes, people who were looking at least 5 products, people who were adding to cart, and we do a lot of calling and customer conversations. Plus, people would call us, so why they were not buying, why they were calling you also. So there was a lot of strength in the evidence that there was an opportunity to improve conversion by building this ecosystem. And there was also a chance to open stores in the right place. The other stuff also which we do, right? Like all our inventory planning, the places where we offer 24-hour delivery, for example, it's now that एक pin code mein now if you have great demand, then build the entire ecosystem to improve the customer experience and their conversion over there. And then you look at the funnel like that. Ye pin code ka funnel, new, repeat, prospect.
So you do actually measure your funnels and cohorts at a pin code level?
Yes.
Interesting.
And the thing is that, marketing also needs to be done like that, we want to measure demand growth again at a pin code level. So I don't want you to get me traffic from anywhere, right? I would
Just want
rather
to focus on that pin code.
even if the cost of traffic is twice as expensive, but we want to make, because there are other benefits also which happen, right? In a pin code, once you get to a certain level of business, meaning you have say 5,000 customers in a pin code, then the word of mouth really picks up, right? You can open a bigger store, and word of mouth is this big, like you don't have data to track it, but all the survey, all the research tells you that almost 20% of our business is coming from word of mouth, right? So that also needs a certain scale before it really starts to, So in that sense, all the pieces needed to make a catchment great for the customer, from the experience point of view, happens then. So then, the focus is very clear. Don't go running around for traffic from any random place. Just focus on this, even if the traffic is twice as expensive.
Very interesting. And zooming into the third phase of your journey, which is the journey that you continue to have, is with the Tatas, Titan, to be specific. Tell us a little bit about why did that happen? Why did you guys choose that path, taking investment from Titan, as opposed to doing what you were doing in the phase or before that? And what's changed for you after that? How have things been post that? What's driving growth? We'll talk about the recent stuff later, but what's driving growth in that 2016 till now wala period? What's happening?
So, I mentioned about the B2B business. One of our customers was also Titan.
Oh, on the B2B side?
Yes. So they would have this interface in the stores. So initially, their solitaire business was based on physical pieces inside a store, right? So it was very limiting, right? You could only show a customer so much. So we built this interface for them where more choice was available for the customer. We actually did exhibitions for Titan customers in hotels and all to sell solitaires. Yeah, we have stood and sold over there. So you did all of that. And, we realized that at one stage you needed money to do these experiments, right? And to learn. And the other part was, to scale a business, you need there are other assets which are needed, right? Like with Titan, we could use their franchisee network, for example, the know-how, the trust, some of their manufacturing capacity initially. इसका ना कोई वैल्यू आप नहीं लगा सकते हो, राइट? इट वॉज पॉसिबली वर्थ अ लॉट ऑफ मिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स and far more than what a VC could give you. So we understood that, the dynamics of this business were very different, right? This is the need for trust and relationship in this category, right? It's very, very deeply embedded in our, social, cultural consciousness, right? Jewelry. So we always realized that there were other levers which we would need, which a Titan could provide us, which no VC could give you whatever money they invested in. So when after you had crossed the product market fit point, right, when you needed to scale, I think that was where we realized that the strategic investment of a Titan would be far more beneficial than whatever money could give you, right? So and what has worked well for us, obviously there's a big part which came from trust. Having the Tanishq name on your website, on your store
Does it
front
add
end.
to the credibility overall?
Yeah,
It does,
100%.
right? It does.
It
Would you account to some of the scaling up post that period to that too?
Yeah, yeah. See, I told you, right? We could not have scaled our manufacturing so fast. So we benefited from that. We got retail partners, retail know-how, how to open stores, and a lot of other know-hows of scaling a business, right? Like how to increase your margins, for example. So a lot of know-how definitely came from Titan, which has been very, very useful for CaratLane. And the best part is that they still let us retain the essence of CaratLane, right? So in a way, we call it the trust of Tanishq and the spirit of CaratLane. So kind of we had the best of both.
You do operate independently still,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes,
And
yes.
I'm assuming function like yet another startup. The DNA that you have, the core DNA
Yeah,
of
yeah,
quick
the
experiments.
company is fully independent,
Yeah.
and it's not like, the right from an HR policy to a customer policy to procurement to retail to marketing, everything runs completely
That's
independently.
very
Yes.
interesting. That's very interesting. And it's, I've been fascinated by some of these stories. In the morning, Nitin from the Adani Group was here. I heard Sameer from the GeoMart. I was talking to Ankur as well. It was almost impossible for me to believe the rapid pace of innovation that these companies are truly doing in this era, even 3, 4 years ago. I don't know what has led to the change, but whatever it be, it's all for great outcomes because the pace with which these companies are able to bring about change and then do it at a scale of billions of users. That's fascinating to witness. Brings me to your most latest part of the journey, and please correct me if I've gotten the numbers wrong. But if I remember, 21 was about a thousand crores in revenue for you, right? 1,200 crores.
FY 22 was 1260
21,
crores.
22
Yeah,
was about 1,200 crores. You're closing now at about 2,200 crores,
2169.
to be precise. At that scale, it's insane. And this is much more rapid pace of growth, compared to the years before. What's this new phase about? What's happening? How are you growing so fast?
So, see, we spoke about the different phases, right? So, after, towards the end of that phase, right, the third phase where Titan came in, we all know, right, the pandemic happened. And, I was telling this to somebody, and I tell this to everybody, right? We talk about digital transformation as a technology thing, right? But it's more a people thing, right? To change people's mindsets, right? During COVID, we were able to change so many mindsets and try so many things out of sheer desperation.
Very interesting.
Okay. So a lot of things which
Any examples on those?
see, simple things like, there used to be a retail marketing team in CaratLane saying कि नहीं ATL, BTL करना जरूरी है. When you open a new store, we need a 10 lakh budget to do all of this. Then we said, boss, there's no money. Okay. So we can't do any of this. This is like luxury for us. So let's just focus on this, right? This pin code thing also, what happened is that, this green, red, pink thing was there, right? So we said, boss, I cannot spend a single rupee on marketing in a pin code, which is in the red zone. Same way, any piece of inventory which is in a store or an FC, jahan se it cannot be pulled out for delivery, we can't do that. So, suddenly the whole infra had to change the way marketing, fulfillment, everything was done because you had to bring down wastage significantly to survive, right? Because we, just for everybody's information, right, we didn't cut anybody's salaries. We cut only for the senior management and we gave it back to them also. We didn't fire anybody. And yeah, it pushed back our journey by 2 years, obviously. But in that period, no, I think the best work happened because there was no choice. You know, a
Very
lot of,
interesting.
yeah.
And I think a blessing in disguise would have been to be in the Tata umbrella, where you're not sort of forced to keep looking for growth avenues all the time, no matter what the macros are, right? Once that pressure is off your back, you can then focus on consolidation in that period. Did that help you improve efficiencies overall that period?
Actually, see, you mentioned that the Tatas don't want crazy growth, which a VC
No, I'm
would
sure
want,
they
right?
do.
Yeah,
I'm sure
but
they
they
do.
want profitability, right? They cannot
Absolutely.
imagine that a company can run and keep losing money, right? Because if you think about it, Titan operates at a crazy scale and it is so profitable, right? We all know about it, right? It's a stock market darling.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the pressure to make sure that your financial numbers keep improving year on year, that was tremendous. You know, I think what has happened, Avlesh, is कि एक point पे ना, so you are doing multiple things, right? I mentioned the pin code part, then there's work happening on design, there's work happening on retention, mid funnel category. एक point पे ना, you get a certain scale where all of these things, you know, almost come together very nicely, and you know, you cross like that escape velocity kind of thing. I think that is what kind of happened in that 21-22 period, where you know, you typically would expect your repeat rate, for example, to fall with scale, right? But it's actually just kept increasing year on year, right? And some of these things you can't explain. The data tells you something, but it's not causality. But we feel that many of these things have just come together, and there are many hidden forces which happen at a certain scale, which is kind of obviously happening now. And you know, this has also given us the confidence to now go for rapid retail expansion, which is hopefully going to give us growth from, you know, from here on.
Now, because the theme is all user engagement and retention, so I have to ask you this: jewelry is it's not like a very repeat purchase category. It's not like every day you go looking on Amazon looking for new stuff, right? How do you guys think of it? I don't know. You have decent level of repeats in your business. How do you drive that behavior? What do you basically do in your business to drive more retention, more repeats? What's the mental framework that you guys follow all the way down to the product?
See, सबसे पहले ना, we explain to everybody कि repeat का CAC is 1/10 of new.
Absolutely.
जिस दिन ये बात सबको समझ में आ गई ना, suddenly there was crazy focus, right? Because it's easy to spend money on marketing, but I told them that if you make one repeat person active, meaning comes back and browses, it's like getting 100 or 50 new people to come, right?
That's
So the
that's absolutely
math
true.
is clear to everybody. So, you know, it took us a lot of time to understand the levers, right? But then we realized that the way to look at repeat, no, was not just to look at buying, was to make sure that people come back and browse again and again, keep coming back to your stores. And this also didn't happen, you know, like on day one. But once we figured this out, right, this has been a constant focus to keep driving this behavior. And you know, we do a lot of small things for that. Jैसे in CaratLane, you know, after 6 months, they will call you and say कि सर आपका jewelry cleaning करना है. So they will call you for that. Every time there are new designs, new collections which get launched, they will call you. They will tell you to come back and browse. We capture people's birthday anniversary data like crazy, like it's an obsession. You know, because we know a lot of buying happens during that occasion. And not just that, you know, they will capture your daughter's birthday. But at the same time, we are also very clear that sirf data capture nahi karna, right? If you can't make it work for you, so don't capture that. So we have also stopped capturing some data like that. Then you do things like, you know, we call people and celebrate their birthdays in a store, even if they are not buying. So you don't call them कि आपने खरीदा इसलिए you do it. We just call and we do that. And there are, in fact, we जो जितना ज़्यादा birthday celebrate करता है, we give them more money to do more of that.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes.
So you just call customers to
Yes.
celebrate their
Sir,
birthday in
it's
the
your
store.
birthday, please come. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So the thing is, no, ki, see, actually our inspiration, while people think that, you know, a big brand comes to kill the small jeweler, but the inspiration for us is actually the small jeweler. Because we personally believe that the best personalized experience is actually provided by the family jeweler.
The local guy.
Yes. So a lot of the things they do really well, right? You just try and copy that, and you try and copy that, and you build in some technology and some digital to help it scale, to help it become more consistent. But essentially, this repeat has happened, you know, by capturing the right data and making sure that they just come back and, you know, you just stay connected. Usme you also use the salespeople. So sometimes, we know that Avlesh is not the person who goes to the app, but Avlesh goes to the store regularly. So then your contact will happen through the sales guy who will say,
You're not speaking from data because this is what I do. You haven't seen my data, right?
sorry?
This is exactly what I do. I don't buy on the app. I go to your store.
Acha, I didn't know
But
that.
you just guessed. Okay, ठीक है.
हाँ. Okay. Yeah, no.
Right to privacy and all that.
Yeah. So the way they do it, no, ki they will get in touch with you and they will invite you to the store, but essentially try and make sure that you give yourself at least 2 or 3 occasions in a year to reach out to every customer, either digitally or through the salespeople. But there has to be a way to engage, and I think 60-70% people at least do that once a year, and we have seen कि वो जितना engagement होता है वो उतना business बढ़ता है. And while there are people like you, right, who don't go to the website, but 90% people again come back, they browse and they go to the store. And I'll tell you just small other changes. You have, like 228 stores, right? What are the things you can get them to do which can actually help your business? So a lot of, we all talk about online to offline. If you think about offline to online, so the best thing which they can do, right? All our store people will make sure you download the app, for example, right? And the moment you download the app, notifications have much better delivery, open, all of that, right? They will make sure you do this golden harvest scheme equivalent call plan of purchase. They will make sure that they call you after 6 months to check about your jewelry. And a lot of other data they capture which goes back to the online or the digital part, which is then, it kind of goes in a loop like that.
Very interesting. Okay. Um, is it showing the right time? Can I trust this? It keeps changing. No, it says up, but there is a number. Oh, we are exceeding time. We're exceeding time? Okay, thank you. We'll take 5 more. Um, so very quickly, Avnish, on we talked about your 4 phases in the journey. It's been a very long journey for you, right? 2007 is when you mentioned.
Actually had
You full hair?
when I
So
joined, yeah.
did I, right? So we're on the same boat. But the amount of perseverance and resilience that you guys have shown, it's very rare, right? In today's startup environment, it's a very rare thing to find. What is it that keeps you guys going? It's been 14, 15 years longer, and you're still at it, and you want to push this to the limits. What keeps you driving? It's possibly that you don't even think about it. That's what keeps you driving. But what is the advice that you give to the founders from today's generation, where the role models are unicorns that get minted every 4 or 5 years, right? Which is not the company that you've built, which is not the company WebEngage 2 is, right? How do you stay put? What is your advice to founders who start business today to build for the long term? How not to get distracted, right? What is it that you want to say to the founders? There are some founders in the room. I'm sure they will benefit.
See, I honestly, we don't think about it like that. Okay, but I'll give you a couple of things. Okay. So one problem beach men have used to face where we would hire product and marketing people from other digital or e-commerce kind of organizations. And I would notice one thing that everybody, their eventual goal in life was to join one of these FANG companies. And uske karan you felt no कि rather than solve our problems or improve conversion, they were more interested in doing work which could go on their resume. So fundamentally, there was a misalignment कि आप एक problem solve करना चाहते हो. You want कि every week go to the store, talk to 20 customers. They are more interested कि metaverse क्यों नहीं बना रहे हैं, ये AI क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं, why don't we build this recommendation engine, cool stuff. So we didn't want to be a company which was not, the place where you wanted to work, but your path to joining that organization. So we completely changed the way we started recruiting product and marketing people, for example. And I'm just giving you an example कि, it is very important कि आप जो चाहते हैं and the rest of the team also what they want, right? Whatever are their goals in life, right? What keeps them going should have a very high level of alignment, right? The second thing, no, I think is that, just like with your children, right? You can't tell them कि phone मत use करो, TV नहीं देखो और आप खुद देखोगे, right? So somewhere it's very important that, because whatever you are doing every day, right, as a founder, whether they can see that your focus is only on doing whatever and not doing something, everybody can figure that out, right? People are very smart. So I think that, just for example, I'll tell you that today, if you write a complaint mail on contact us to CaratLane at 12 o'clock at night, and I can challenge all of you to do that, there is a very good chance that Mithun might reply at 12 o'clock at night, or I might reply, or there are other
Even
senior.
today?
Yes, even today.
Wow.
Because, and when you do that, then everybody understands ki yahi zaruri hai, right? So then they also feel, it's like the way you look at your parent, right?
I can't agree more. Yes.
Yeah. And and similarly, other stuff, right? If they see that everybody is frugal, right? It's not that, just because you are a senior, there are no cabins in this organization. So you kind of show, right, that everybody has to be same way, the customer focus, or the fact that you're not, chasing these artificial artifacts of stature, right, or success. I have this fancy thing. Then you can't, you make sure that other people also don't develop bad habits.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm with you. No, and totally concur. One last question, and then I'll open up for the audience. How many D2C folks are here in the room? People who work for D2C brands? Where are the rest gone? Okay. I mean, that's not specific to D2C brands, but I've seen with Avnish, the question is generally I've seen a lot of the early stage companies, especially D2C brands, who are essentially not very good at their tech platforms, quote unquote, very good at the core product that they're building. But then everything else for them, it takes a lot of time for it to all come around. And some of them, they also suffer because of this from a long term, because building those tech modes early on in the business so that you can scale faster and better and in a more agile manner become critical to your success. What would you advise those founders who don't come from tech first backgrounds, still have great products, still have traction, but do suffer on that side, and then ultimately are not able to figure out that part of the puzzle? What's your advice for them? How should they approach it?
See, I think that at the same time, they should realize that today the ecosystem is so much better, meaning there are many low-cost, easy solutions available. So they should not, start chasing the big, expensive names on day one. Rather, I think they should make sure that, they build the good practices of making sure that data is first organized properly, right?
How do they build that sense of
I think you need
understanding?
people who are not consultants, but people whose life depends on the success of the business.
Very important to get these people early in the journey, right?
Yeah, you can't get like a, you can't get a consultant to help you with that, essentially, and it has to be part of your core functions. Meaning you can't have a, I hate this chief digital officer, head of digital transformation kind of thing. Your marketing people, your product people have to know about this and they have to solve it. So in that sense, I think it's important to invest in good product slash marketing people who can understand, who know the right practices for data from the beginning, so that they do the basic thing. आप ज़्यादा मत करो, आप जितना करो वो आप ठीक से करो.
Set the right foundation, and I think the team plays a very critical role. Most early stage founders.
Sourced
Yeah,
basically.
it can't be outsourced. Yeah, most D2C guys, they make that mistake. But anyway, Avnish, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I'll open it up for the audience. Web Engage guys will go last, so Apurv later. People have questions, please raise your hand. We can take a few. Okay, it's your lucky day, Apurv, you can go.
So I have a personal question. First of all, kudos to your journey, and a lot of what you said, resonated with me in thought process. And I love the fact that you think a lot out of the box, and I really respect that overall. And I wish maybe someday I get to that thought process and thinking. On that note, the personal question is, there's so much noise around, right? Like a lot what you're saying, a lot of thing is basics of business. But the way business is built in India and venture capital and this and that, it's happening almost the exact opposite way of how it should ideally be done, right? With that kept in mind, how do you maintain focus and how do you keep out the noise? That's my sort of personal
Wear
sort of
earplugs.
Anyway,
24/7.
No, you see, actually, the same problem happens in every walk of life, right? Like when you are studying or working or doing anything, there is always distraction, and it basically comes from what you are chasing, right? Like what will really make you happy at the end of the day. I think, you know, I don't know what is the answer for that, right? I think we were very focused, and it gave us, there's a people talk about purpose and mission and all of that, right? We didn't have any other mission than saying that let's just become profitable, and everybody was excited at that thing we could become, one of the few companies which could become profitable, and, not because of creative accounting or through GMV or any such thing in the real sense. And, when you are just looking at that, uh, I think some of it also comes with age. So you can clearly see that I'm older than you. And so are a lot of us in CaratLane. And then you realize, and you just have to make sure the other people also just
They grow
benefit
old with
from
you.
that. Yeah. No, they benefit from that. So you have to keep telling them, right? They say, simple questions, ki, let's do this, right? Then we just ask them, na, ki, show me the, some return has to come, right? And return is not necessarily in terms of ROI. If you just say, okay, this is good, and people will write about it on social media and you will get mentions, that is good enough. But something has to happen for whatever you're doing. And if you just keep driving and keep saying that every day, right? Like just literally drill that down into everybody, then slowly they get it. And like I said, the people who are not happy with that will move on, and you should actually encourage them to move on. So then the people you're surrounded with are also people who believe in that philosophy
Yeah,
essentially.
very important. I agree. I absolutely agree. Any more questions, or shall we call it a close?
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All the best.
Anybody else? We're good. We're good. Avnish, thank you so much. Pleasure again talking to you. Thank you.